everyone, and good morning, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Real. I'm your host this morning, and here with me is Kelly. Hi, Kelly.
Good morning.
Morning. I'm so excited because I'm a married woman.
Yep.
I'm finally back now, and got the ring on.
Nice.
So yay! Kelly was there to celebrate with me, so we had so
It was wonderful.
Okay, food. Oh my goodness, yes. Can't wait to come back already.
I know, me too.
Next year's celebration, first anniversary.
Right.
Yes. So we just want to kind of freshen up a little bit. I know we had a pre-recorded episode for you guys last Monday, and Kelly's just going to do a little summary for us. Kelly, go ahead.
Yep, it was, we talked about whether you should buy or sell, and we gave a lot of tips and tricks on the different pros
and cons, right?
Pros and cons of whether you should buy or rent, and there's a lot of different things. Everybody's in a different situation. You may not be in the right situation to buy a house because of the responsibility. Then it might make sense to rent. And then, of course, obviously, it always makes sense to buy because purchasing a home is one of the best investments that you can make. If you want to see any details on it, I recommend checking out that video. It was pre-recorded, so it's always available to go on, whether it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We both have YouTube pages that it gets posted to.
Yep. And that was episode 19, if you guys need to refer to, of our podcast. So today, we're going to be talking about what's now called value acceptance, which is our commonly known appraisal waivers, and how they can make your offer stand out. But before we get into it, as usual, we're going to be getting started with our myth of the day. And the myth of the day is saying that appraisal value is the same as market value. Now, that is not necessarily accurate. It can be at times, but it's not accurate to say that. And I'll try to break it down. Kelly can chime in as well.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason why this is a myth is because let's say a person goes and really wants a house and buys a house for $300,000, but the house actually gets appraised at $250,000, and that buyer really wanted the house, so they decided to pay the difference of that appraisal gap, right, in cash. So their final purchase price was still $300,000, even though it was appraised at $250,000. So now the market value of that house is $300,000, but the appraised value is $250,000. 2 months later, someone is buying a house maybe in the same street or somewhere nearby, same characteristics. That person, the realtor and this listing agent, might be using this property that sold over appraised value as a comparable, and that's what drives the market value up because of people overpaying above the appraised value. But the appraisal value is based on condition, a mix of price per square footage, cost to build. There's a lot that goes into an appraisal evaluation of a home in comparison to a market value, where it can fluctuate based on the market.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully kind of explains. Kelly, do you want to chime in maybe with your own words and on your side perspective too?
So in reference to the market value, so that particular home, and I'll use this as an example, say somebody is looking to purchase a home in the same neighborhood, and that home, even though it appraised at $250,000, it was bought at $300,000. So that's what the appraiser is going to look at. They're going to see in that particular case, well, that home sold for $300,000. They're going to try and find other homes because everybody wants their home to appraise higher.
Of course.
And if it's within, a certain time frame and that home sold for $300,000, that's the market value now of that home. And, people are purchasing other homes in that area. So there's a good possibility that people's appraised values will get higher if they're looking to buy a home in that area, if a home is bought at $300,000, even though it appraised at $250,000.
Yeah.
Because then other homes appraisal has 3 or more properties located on it, there are adjustments to the homes when doing an appraisal, but that particular, I'm just using that particular home and as an example, that yes, other homes could sell for around that same market value. However, as time goes on, that doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to be that value, but that's where the appraised value comes into play.
Correct.
So, with appraisals, there's a lot that goes into play, and most times an appraiser does all their due diligence up front. They're pulling records from the courthouse. They're looking at, NML or MLS homes that have sold that are similar to that house, and they may or may not be comparable to that house. So that's where an appraised value comes into play, and that's the difference. And
they are able to also check what kind of purchase was made on that property that they're considering using as a comp. So going back to this example where people paid in cash the difference on the gap appraisal, they can see that happened. They can see that the property was purchased with a conventional loan, so much money down, and they pay the difference in cash. So when they see a substantial amount of cash in comparison to a loan, they know that, chances are that property did not appraise at the full amount. So the market value tends to drive appraisal values up, because the more, houses that are sold higher for different reasons, more comparables are going to be in place where those appraisers are going to have to use those comparables to appraise. But it doesn't mean that the appraised value is the same as the market value, because they can definitely differ, especially on markets that are not like really strong, like we have been coming from, with the seller's market, people overpaying. Now it's stabilizing. They're still overpaying, but not crazy amounts like they were before. So the market is stabilizing, where we see appraised value kind of matching market value. But we had a huge gap, in the past couple of years with the COVID situation, where appraised value was kind of having a big gap on a market value. It's trying to catch up due to the excessive overpay over the couple of years. So I guess that kind of explains that a little bit. I think that's the biggest myth. And again, it can be true at certain points in certain markets, but it's not always true. So we just wanted to kind of explain that difference, because it's a little tricky, especially for people that are not in this industry or not familiar with appraisals.
And I get the question a lot with people's homes increase in value, that they think their home is not going to increase in value because of certain things. And more than in most cases, your home is always going to increase in value. It may not increase by thousands, but most likely when you move into a house, unless you completely destroy your home,
let's not do that.
Most people, when they move into the house, they make the home their own, which is upgrades or just making changes to the house. Homes are always going to increase in value. It's just a matter of how much and how quickly. It just all depends on market value and appraised value of properties. It fluctuates. So
that is very true.
It's just a very common question that I get, or people
same here. Like, how is there a chance my house is going to go down in value? Honestly, no. Houses don't go down in value unless they are degraded, right? In some way, shape, or form, or if the market actually crashes and we have we're not foreseeing that. So naturally, if everything stays the same, your house is definitely going to go up just from inflation alone. We see a normal 3.5 increase a year on most areas, some areas more than others. But that's just normal. If the market is continually healthy and there's no downs, that's just going to be what's going to happen.
Yep. So
we're going to finally get into the topic of the day, which is the appraisal waiver. And now the new name is value acceptance. I actually didn't even know that. Kelly was telling me that.
So this is brand new. So with Fairway, this just came out on the 15th. And it's only Fannie Mae. So with conventional loans, we have our Fannie Mae and our Freddie Mac.
Mhm.
And Fannie Mae is the only one that is doing the new value acceptance. Appraisal waivers are still a thing, because you can get appraisal waivers through Freddie Mac, and that's usually with 20% down. We see them a lot with refinances and some purchases depending on the property, but there's a lot of things that go into play with that. And
Yeah.
I don't know
It's
all
not
the
guaranteed, right? It's not always
guaranteed. So what Fannie Mae has done with the market and just, the lack of appraisers that there are these days, what they've done is they have 61 million appraisal reports in their system. So to help alleviate time and a lot of work that's being done with doing appraisals, they have this whole system of all these appraisals in their system. So they're using all these valuations that they have, and you don't have to put 20% down. We do have, there is a list of I believe I think it goes to 90%, if I remember. One of the values is 90%, so it does not have to be a 20% down,
So it
which
can
I
be
thought that
10%.
it did. But I had a list of products and or like types that it can go into, and it goes up to 90% loan to value.
Awesome.
So that's new.
That is very new.
Yes, and with having all these appraisals in their system, it's just going to help alleviate time. It's going to help lenders and realtors get homes sold. There's a way to put it in our system that we can run it through our automated underwriting, and it'll let us know whether it gets a value acceptance. So
Awesome.
there's 5 types.
So before you go into it, then
Sure.
let's explain to people that are watching, why is it such a big deal to be able to get an appraisal waiver, and how that can make an offer stand out, right? If you are a buyer and now you have the opportunity to potentially get this value acceptance appraisal waiver with their offer under the automated underwriting, tell us, I know I can chime on that too, but
No, that's okay.
how that can make such an offer, stronger offer when you're putting an offer and competing with other people.
Sure. So the market today is still a little tough. It's still kind of a seller's market. There's still competition out there with a lot of homes that are being sold and that are on the market. And with getting the valuation acceptance, this helps strengthen your offer. If an appraisal does not need to be done on the property, then really all we need as a lender is your title work, and we have Leslie, and that can be done in a few weeks, 2 weeks tops with her the property, and your homeowner's insurance. So as a seller, they want to see that kind of strong offer. If appraisal doesn't have to be done on the property, and we were able to do a value acceptance through the lender, then that's just one less thing. There's also a savings to the borrower. If you get a full value acceptance, there's no fee for an appraisal. So that's less money that they have to come to the table with, because we usually quote an appraisal fee and a final inspection fee, which the appraiser does. And those are 2 things that are taken off.
And that's usually what, $750 on average?
On average, yeah. Yep. We usually, so $650 is what we quote for the appraisal, and then we usually do about $175 for a final inspection. That seems to be the going price now. So, yep, right around $750,
$100 there. Yeah.
So that's a huge savings for the borrower. Plus, it's also less time that the seller has to worry about getting their home sold.
Yeah. So I think there's 2 big factors on the seller side. Like if a buyer is presenting an offer with an appraisal or value acceptance, or appraisal waiver or value acceptance, there's 2 big things. One is the timing, because on a traditional purchase, an appraisal period is usually 30 days. and that's guaranteed. You're going to have to at least have 30 days to do your appraisal. But also on top of that, without having to do an appraisal on the property, that seller's guarantee whatever the offer the buyer made, is, because there's always a gamble, right? Because if you offer something on the house as the buyer and you're telling, hey seller, I'll pay you this much, but there's an appraisal with contingency in place, that seller may not be getting what the buyer is offering because that contingency is in there. But if there's an appraisal waiver or value acceptance in place, then the seller is guaranteed whatever the buyer is offering because the value acceptance was made on the purchase price the seller has it in a contract. So now that questioning, the question mark of whether they're going to make that money or not, it goes away. So that's why it makes such a stronger offer to have a value acceptance in place, aka appraisal waiver. It's because it's guaranteeing the seller whatever the buyer is offering, and the timing of the sale is also shortened by a substantial amount. We're probably talking potentially closing in 3 to 4 weeks on most long times.
Yep. It definitely is a benefit on both sides. So with that, there's 3 that we're advertising, the 3 different types, but there's actually 5. And the 3 that we are that we have on our marketing is a value acceptance, and this is the term that's used in conjunction with an appraisal waiver. So that completely eliminates an appraisal. So we also offer a value acceptance plus property data. And this indicates that by using data that has been collected by a vetted and approved third party, the property is eligible for the required appraisal to be waived. So there's like a little bit of work that has to be done in that sense, but not a whole lot. They just use, third party people to help verify that value is acceptable. So, and we also have the hybrid appraisal. Hybrid appraisal is a transaction. It's a value acceptance or property data process that began, but is ultimately the property was not found to be eligible for the option. So with a hybrid, they use third-party people to do the work for them. We don't actually have to send an appraiser out, but we use real estate agents, insurance inspectors, other appraisers to give that value as an accepted value. So they use the third parties for that. The hybrid is kind of an enhanced version of a desktop appraisal. Yeah. So that's the 4th type. So we have our desktop, where we, as a lender, they use Courthouse, they pull comps, and they pull data from different resources, and they pull it all together and that's what's considered a desktop appraisal. So they're still pulling information from other stuff, from other places, and that's what's used. Yeah. So then we also have what your traditional appraisal is, and with a traditional appraisal, an appraiser does what a desktop appraisal does. They pull all that information. They go online, they go to the courthouse, they look at different inspections that have been done. They look at different things, but then they also go out to the property and they'll take pictures of the outside and the inside just to verify that everything is as it should be. Yeah. But because Fannie Mae has all these appraisals in their system and the market is just so saturated with all these values and all this information, that's why they made this decision. It just doesn't make sense to have a full appraisal done every single time a property is on the market. But do you have any questions on that, on any of those different types?
No, I actually wanted to chime in on the hybrid one. And actually, this is a shout out to realtors out there. There is an opportunity, if you're a realtor now, to participate into, it's Freddie, right? That is doing this. Fannie. Anyway, there is an opportunity for you to actually become and realtor that will go to the properties on behalf of other deals and do like a 3D walkthrough or take photos and then submit it, and then you get paid for those visits. I actually have done a couple in Harrisburg. And then it's funny, you were talking about this, and I'm like, oh, now I'm tying things up. So that's what that is. Because I signed up for it. And if you are a realtor and you're looking for like additional ways of staying within your realm of business, but making additional income, you can be doing those collecting information for other transactions and take photos and do the walkthroughs in properties on behalf of Fannie Mae's appraisals. So that's an opportunity there. And that's exactly what you said. We go in on behalf of, instead of an appraiser, we just go in and we're collecting as much information. And since we have a little bit more knowledge than a regular civilian would have, then we are able to kind of pick on things that, most common people wouldn't pick on. And then we take photos and we still make the file, and you just get paid for that visit. But that chimes into this hybrid valuation determination system.
Yeah. So, and just so that everyone's aware, so with the value acceptance, there is no cost. So there may be a small cost to the value acceptance plus property data, because they'll have to gather data to get that approval through that way, as well as the hybrid appraisal. There may still be a small cost to it, just because there is some work, like you said, you get paid to do. It's just not the $775.
No, yeah,
so
it's a visit.
The cost is either eliminated, or there's just a small fee to have that stuff done, but it still speeds up the process. Like, these things still don't take long to be completed. Especially the value acceptance and property data, that's data that's collected kind of on the back end that we don't see. Yeah. So just so everybody's aware, there still could be a small fee to it. God bless you.
Thank you. I muted myself.
But it is a big benefit to the market these days with and everybody wants to go conventional. So that's always your strongest offer. So if you have a conventional offer and you have a value acceptance, then it's a win-win.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about the different down payment requirements for this to be in place when a buyer is looking maybe to potentially get this as, a strategy for becoming a stronger offer.
Right. So let me see. I have all that information. I bet it didn't print for me.
And I'm assuming these are only for conventional loans.
It is just for conventional. I don't have the criteria. Hold on a second. Bear with me. Okay. Because I did have it, but no, I don't. I know you can go up to the 90% loan to value.
Yeah, so that would be the 10% down payment, which it is pretty awesome, because you and I have worked before on getting appraisal waivers now, value acceptance for clients of ours that were putting at least 20% down. And there was like a system that you had to run things through. Not all houses qualify to get the appraisal waiver, because there's a age thing that is taken into consideration. There's also area price. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and also the buyer itself. But the house itself has to be either renovated or newer. So not all houses will actually get this approval for an appraisal waiver. Now, the value acceptance would be a little bit different than that. Or what do you think?
So yes and no. I think the value acceptance is going to cover a larger area.
Okay.
Just because it's Fannie Mae's, it's all of their appraisals that are in their system. Like I said, it was 61 million appraisal reports that they have all over. So I do have the criteria here. So The loan case files, so 1-unit properties, including condominiums, so limited cash out refinance transactions. So this is principal residences and second homes up to 90% loan to value and combined loan to value. Investment properties up to 75%. We couldn't do investment properties on the original appraisal waivers.
That is true. Yeah.
So the cash out refinances, this wasn't a thing either with appraisal waivers. Principal residence up to 70% loan to value, and second homes and investment properties up to 60%.
Wait, so principal. So primary homes, you said? What
For a cash out refinance.
Oh, cash out refinance. Gotcha.
Principal residence up to 70% loan to value, and then second homes is 60%.
Nice. Okay.
So the limited cash out, which is kind of more like a rate and term, that's where you can go up to the 90% loan to value. So that used to be like with appraisal waivers, it was only 80% loan to value.
Gotcha.
So with purchase transactions, we have our principal and second homes. This is 80% loan to value. So this would be the 20% down in the combined loan to value. Principal residence on high needs rural locations identified by FHFA up to 90% loan to value and 105% combined loan to value for borrowers at or below the AMI. Contingent on home property inspections.
Okay.
So that's obviously an inspection is a little different than an appraisal.
Yeah.
And recently construction properties, new construction is 100% complete, and there is an existing as is prior appraisal for the property subject property. So that's nice with new construction.
So basically don't even need an appraisal there because they will go up to the 100%.
Correct. So the 80% for principal for purchases, the principal residence in the high needs rural locations for FHFA, that is a little different. It goes up to the 90% loan to value, and the combined loan to value is 105.
It's interesting that the rural locations actually go up to 90.
I know. Well, that's under the FHFA, locations identified by FHFA.
Oh.
So we'll have to look into that a little bit more.
FHFA, because I'm not do a quick search.
Yes. So
Federal Housing Finance Agency.
Yep. So it's a huge benefit, but even especially with if you're doing a refinance and you're looking to get cash out or limited cash out rate term, we're when the rates do go down, if they do, we have another refi boom. These are, you can go up to 90%, which is huge because that was always 20%, like 80% loan to value or less.
Yeah. That's going to save a little bit of money there for people that are refinancing on their refinance cost.
Yeah.
So
the hope is that you're at 80%, that you don't have any private mortgage insurance, but if you don't, you can still get this. It's still less of a cost because usually when you do a refinance, there's no lender fees unless you have to have an appraisal done, and then that's your only lender
fee. Yeah.
So it's a huge benefit to customers.
Yes. So if you are a buyer and you happen to qualify for conventional and you would like to make, an attempt to make your offer stronger, Kelly can run the numbers and make sure that you are able to potentially get this value acceptance. That way when you put the offer in, and this can be done prior, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
So that way when you put your offer in before you're even under contract, that offer is going to stand out by not having that appraisal contingency in place anymore, and the seller being guaranteed whatever you're offering as the buyer. And that is really coming from a realtor perspective, that is a huge point when you are overseeing offers from multiple buyers. Not having that appraisal contingency in place, together with other factors of course, but not having that contingency for appraisal is huge. There's always a big fear on the seller side of whether picking up the highest offer is not necessarily always the best, because of an appraisal having, being in place. But if there's no appraisal, then yes, they're definitely going to pick up the highest offer together with other maybe great terms, which if you want to find out how to make your offer better, we do have an episode dedicated to all the things you can do to make your offer stand out. And there are different things that you can add to your offer. Offering higher is not necessarily always the best unless you have a value acceptance in place. But there are other things you can offer. And if you want to find out more about that, we do have an episode about that. But this is definitely one of the big ones, either having a value acceptance or, paying the appraisal gap. In this case, you don't even have to pay appraisal gap, which also helps the buyer because appraisal gaps, if you are offering to pay them, they go straight into your closing costs. And in this case, you don't have to worry about it because you have a value acceptance in place. There's no appraisal gap to be paid because there's no appraisal. So it can be a benefit for the buyer as well. And of course, make your offer as the buyer stronger to the seller.
Correct. And we can always work with the system too and see, maybe you're purchasing a house and you're only putting so much down. We can see what we can get that the value acceptance at. Yeah. So there still may be close to the 20%, the 80% loan to value, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So even though your purchase price is this, they do look at the less of the two, but if we can get that appraisal acceptance, the value acceptance done, we'll definitely do that.
Yeah. So there's factors that go into it, of course. It's not cutting dry, nothing really is.
No.
But we definitely want to get you guys to know that that's an option now, and that's definitely something that can help you make your offer stand out, or at least limit the amount of money that you're going to have to be paying out of pocket in order to, get there. So, well, I think this is really it. Do you want anything else to add, or?
I don't think so. I think like we've said, it's especially right now, back to our myth with market value and appraised values.
Yeah.
Right now, with the market, and people have been paying more than what homes were being sold for. Good possibility that there's a lot of homes that they would get this value acceptance based on the market.
Yeah, because it's based on the market value, and the market values are usually higher or both higher faster than appraised value.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but no, it's a benefit, like we said, to both sides of the transaction, and we can work with the numbers to see if we can get it to go through, and it just saves money, time. That's the big thing with purchasing a home. Money and time.
That is very true. That's very true. And on the notes of saving money, not necessarily time, but saving money. If you are going to be buying a home, and then maybe you don't have enough savings, or not as much as you would like to have yet, just stay tuned to our next episode. Kelly and I will be talking about the PHFA program.
Yes.
And going over on how you as a buyer can potentially qualify to get a 5% of whatever purchase price you're going for credit back to you to use towards your closing costs, and potentially even down payment. So stay tuned to that. If you want to learn more about that, we'll be going over in detail on our next episode. And we're very excited because it's a pretty amazing program, especially if you are a first-time home buyer that needs a little bit of a boost when it comes to the financing side. And we'll break it down so you know what to do, how to do it, if you are up for it, or if you're not, how to get there. So that's going to be our next episode. And I think that's it for today. If you guys have any questions, please let us know. We are here to help. Our information is always scrolling through the bottom. So feel free to reach out, email, call, text, whatever you guys want to do. Any social media, we are here to help you in any way we can. Alrighty. So have a good day.
All right. Have a great week.
You too, Kelly. I'll see you.
See ya.
See you guys. Bye-bye.